Greetings. Here I am again in my non-grubby work clothes. Freshly washed Carhartt overalls, freshly washed Carhartt work shirt. Yes, sir, and I had my shower this morning. So the grubby gardener guy ain't so grubby after all. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. I'm here to talk about bramble berries. Yes, bramble berries. This is the Mysore black raspberry. Oh man, is that good. Now, I'm sure most of you are familiar with blackberries. Okay, these are not blackberries. They are raspberries. They come away with no stem. The blackberry comes with a stem. Okay, so well, if it's a true raspberry, most of you who live in the eastern United States probably recognize this thing. It's kind of a roadside railroad track ditchweed. These grow in the wild in the eastern U.S. They're coveted. Really good. Used to bring them to my stepfather, make wine out of. They don't taste like blackberries or like red raspberries. Definitely different. This one here, though, is not the eastern United States version. This is a black raspberry that comes from Asia. Yeah, Mysore. This is the Indian black raspberry. I guess it grows all the way down into maybe Indonesia even. This thing's pretty tropical. It is a non-stop raspberry. It really doesn't have a season. You know, I know, being a brambleberry lover, yes, they are one of the most important fruits in my life, actually, is the brambleberry. As a young boy, they were available in the Midwest, in the wild. I didn't have to start gardening to be able to collect brambleberries. Between Illinois and Wisconsin and Indiana, where I spent a lot of my childhood, we might find the red raspberry, a little bit to the north, a little bit to the south, the true blackberry, especially the Himalayan, which is a very invasive, nasty plant, but it's got good fruit. We might find the Native American dewberry. Term dewberry isn't in wide horticultural use. In the upper Midwest, we refer to that as a form of prostrate growing blackberry that, as far as I know, was not an invasive species. It's part of the environment there. Yeah, most of the Himalayan grows vertical. Big, tall, strong shoots. But the dewberry tends to lay down more. Yeah, so we had, like I said, the red raspberries, we had the blackberries, the dewberries, we also had the black raspberry. We had all of them. Okay. And as a boy, I'd wander out into the woods or head on along the railroad tracks or find a vacant lot somewhere and start picking and picking and picking. I was always the favorite guy in the house when I'd come home with a hat filled with berries, okay? People just go, my aunts would go, oh, we have to make a pie, you know. My stepfather would go, I think I'm going to make another batch of wine, you know, and on and on. Everybody loves these things. The one thing that I find out, though, is that most of the novice gardeners who are not really deep and, you know, and have not been raising their own food for years and so on, and deeply familiar with fruiting plants, most of the novice gardeners are scared to death of brambleberries. It's like this. Anytime I talk about it, man, they want to drive a stake in their heart. I think a majority of those folks are probably, you know, from Oregon, Washington, BC, California, where the Himalayan blackberry has become an absolute nightmare. The birds have spread it everywhere. It's thornier than all get out. It's a nasty thing, I agree, although the fruit is really good. So, you know, people familiar with berries having become escaped invasive species in the wild, I would say there's good reason to fear them, but there is no reason to fear a brambleberry if you're an accomplished gardener, because most gardeners know exactly how to treat these plants. And if they're handled properly, well, they are the finest fruit crops on the face of this planet. It doesn't get any better. Why? Because you put in brambles, you have fruit within 1 to 2 years, and you will have fruit from there all the way on out. All the time. That's the main question I get when I'm selling people fruit trees. You know, oh, here's Jabuticaba. How long does it take? Oh, 7 to 25 years. Oh, no! Here's Fuyu persimmons. How long do they take? Well, at least 6 years, you know. Oh, I'll be dead by then. It seems like so many people must know the date of their passing because they're afraid to plant so many of these fruiting plants that take considerable time. Now, I love Chico Zapote. Yeah, the Chico Zapote, Manilcaro Zapote. It's one of my favorite fruits. It's like pears with brown sugar. It's really good. But darn Chico, I have no idea yet how long it takes to bear. Probably about the same as the true mangosteen, 20, 25 years. I'm 10 years on Chico Zapotes out here, and they don't look anything like they're going to start to make fruit. I'll be buying my Chicos at the farmer's market for some time to come. But my berries? We're eating strawberries, we're eating raspberries, we're eating blackberries, and we were doing that from the first year they were planted. It's the most important fruit in your orchard, folks. It doesn't get any better than that, because if you're planting an apple tree, and you can figure it's going to be, 3 to 6 years before it's going to start to make decent fruit, what do you do in the meantime? Grow berries. Yep. That's why they're here. They are the bridge between, I have no fruit, or it takes too long to fruit. No, you have berries. Right here is Triple Crown. It's a thornless blackberry from the University of Arkansas breeding program. Triple Crown is my favorite blackberry. Flavor's great, size is fabulous. It has no thorns, real smooth. I was a little worried that it might have taken too much chilling to grow here. I brought this in from California a few years back, and for several years it actually failed to fruit. It did not produce. Whereas down the fence, its sister plant called Natchez, which is also another University of Arkansas thornless blackberry. Natchez bears reliably here, several crops a year in fact. Sadly, Natchez fruit quality is not really up to the top as far as I'm concerned. If you allow it to get dead ripe on the vine, it's good. But if you pick it when it's still glossy but black, it's best used for a pie, a jam, a sauce, a jelly, something else, because it's kind of tart. This one is not. Triple Crown is sweet as all get out. As long as it's black, this thing is outstanding. And no reason to fear. What's the problem? It's got no thorns. This big old beast right here behind me, this is a black raspberry. It is Mysore, M-Y, Mysore, S-O-R-E, Mysore, the black raspberry from Asia. It is abundant, incredibly productive. It doesn't really seem to stop fruiting. This thing's an ever-bearer. I get berries off of this almost every day of the year. It's bristly. That's its biggest problem. This thing does have quite a bit of thorn. According to the state of Hawaii, this is technically an invasive species, because if the birds are allowed to get into the fruit, and they'll spread it, and it's pretty brambly. But we have probably at least a half dozen invasive brambles here on the island. The vast majority of them, with the exception of the Himalayan blackberry, are very unproductive. They're thorny, they're big, they're gnarly. The Himalayan raspberry, for instance, is horrible. Oh my goodness. You get caught in that thing, they'll never get you out again. This one has thorns, and it is challenging because there are thorns on the back of the leaves too, which makes it a little hard to pick. But it took me a little technique. I had to learn how to move through this plant, and then every time I pick a branch, I prune it off so I don't have it in my way. Okay, but the plant is incredibly productive. This plant here is now about 1.5 years old from a cutting. I started picking berries on it in less than 12 months, and that has not stopped. You know, it's like I'll be waiting 25 years for my Mammy Sapotes, you know, or Chico Sapotes over here, but this thing, less than a year. Less than a year. Of course, the chemicals in berries are outstanding. There's tremendous antioxidants and other qualities about these. The flavor is great. A lot of uses. They're good when they're cooked. They're good when they're raw. Doesn't matter. I throw them in my cereal in the morning. And it's good shelter, too.
Well, Gracie? There's my kitty cat hanging out down here. You be careful of the thorns now, girl. Yeah. You're the good kitty. Yep. Not exactly wildlife, right? No. But she loves them, too. Why? Because the geckos like them. Geckos get in there and they chew on the back of the berries. They love sweet stuff. And so Gracie's in there watching geckos. Oh, get them geckos, she says. Get the cardinals out of there for me, too, while you're at it there.
There are pluses and minuses to everything. Okay? It takes a bit of a knack to get in here and get these berries out without getting stuck. All right. Although I've become fairly adept at it, and I can manage. I picked this morning. No blood. But other than delicious fruit, and the main reason I advocate the brambleberry is the time it takes to a crop. Everybody's worried about how long it takes to grow fruit. No need to worry about that when you're raising brambles. Again, the Mysore can technically be called an invasive species here if it isn't controlled well. Since it's everbearing, I am going to have to, bite the bullet, and at some point here, probably prior to spring, I'm going to cut this whole plant back to about 18 to 24 inches, reduce everything. It will come back out and begin reblooming again immediately. I might lose 60 days worth of fruit. I might lose if I did that, but it'll keep the plant sized up so it isn't gigantic, big, and thorny. That's really the only problem with it. The plant is actually quite erect. It stands up well on its own. It's very stiff, and so it doesn't lay down and start, rooting and trailing like blackberries do sometimes where they'll peg. This one tends to stay up in the air if it's pruned properly, but here in Hawaii, it does not stop. Huh? I mean, how's this sound for math? Plant one, 12 months later, you're picking fruit, and then you're picking fruit probably about every other day from there on out into eternity or until you prune the plant back. Yeah. It's worth putting up with the spines. That's my opinion. Of course, like I said, I was a little boy when I started picking brambleberries. Most of them were thorny, and I guess my fingertip dexterity and I was a little more nimble as a young man, and so I usually never did get stuck. But of course, I grow cacti too. Thorns don't dissuade me very much. Aloha, folks. I encourage y'all, get over that fear of brambleberries if you want some fruit now.